Alright, this is Vegeta8259 again, and today we're going to be going over the Master Grade Gouf version 2.0. And right off the bat, I'm going to say this is a very, very nice kit. It's just as good, maybe even a little bit better than the Zaku 2.0. Has a very, very solid feel to it because of its inner frame, much like the Zaku. So, I guess we'll start off with colors then. For colors, he's got a very, very bright blue. It's almost like an electric blue for most of his body. The previous Gouf kits, the 1.0 Master Grade, the High Grade, and the Glorious Series Gouf, weren't molded in a blue quite this bright. They were more like this color right here, and then used an even darker blue for their torsos, but this blue is a very nice bright blue. And then the dark blue he has for his torso is about the same color blue that they use on the RX-78 and Zeta Gundam and all those other Hero Gundams. He's also got a few black parts on his chest, knees, feet. He's got two clear orange parts for the cockpit and one for his beam sword. A little bit of gray on his backpack. His inner frame is the same shade of gray, which you'll see in part 2. And then he's just got two clear parts up on his eyes here, or eye, since he is a mono-eye mobile suit. Anyway, for articulation, he's just as good as the Zaku 2.0. His head is on a ball joint, actually a double ball joint, so it can go up and down. Can't really move side to side much, maybe a little. It can rotate, although I find that the shoulder armor, being so big and so close to his torso, kind of gets in the way, with Gouf having these big, weird looking pipes on the sides of his head. I always puzzled me. I never knew why they couldn't just make the head pipes like the Zaku's. I don't know why they have to come all the way up like this. That's one thing that kind of bothers me about the retro design of the Gouf 2.0. I prefer the more like this, like on the Gouf Custom. See how they don't go up nearly as high? Don't look nearly as strange either. Anyway, he has the same mono-eye feature that the Zaku 2.0 has, and you'll probably barely be able to see it, but when you turn his head, his mono-eye moves in cooperation with whichever direction you turn his head in. Anyway, the cockpit hatch does open, and he doesn't have a cockpit that slides back and forth like the Zaku 2.0, but he just has one cockpit with a little rumbarol in there. Has a ball joint at the waist, and actually has another bending joint up in the torso, so he can bend forward a good bit, like so. And the cables that go from his backpack up here are made of polycap material, so they're nice and flexible, so they move with his torso. The shoulder armor is just on a ball joint. It doesn't come out like the Zaku 2.0, but it can wiggle a little bit. Gives you plenty of room. And actually maneuver around so that the arms can come out about that far. And of course they can rotate, and this piece can fall off. It'll probably fall off about 5 times. He's got a joint that allows his shoulder to come up out of the torso, like so. He's got rotation below the shoulder. Double jointed elbow with a nice little piston here that moves with the elbow joint. And like I said, this little blue piece fell off again. That's my only complaint about this kit, is that this piece is really loose. Falls out really easily. And he's got a double jointed wrist, so it can wiggle and rotate and bend down like so. Can't really bend up on the machine gun hand, but on the other hand it can bend up. Other hand is just like the Zaku 2.0 and Sinanju and Gundam 2.0. Ball jointed fingers, ball jointed thumb, and each finger can bend at the middle. Now the machine gun hand is really nice because I think on the 1.0 each finger was ball jointed where it connected at the palm, but on this one it has that, but also each finger has a ball joint in the middle, as you can see here. Now they can't move nearly as much as the other hand, but they can bend enough to pop off and me lose it. Anyway, yeah, so good flexibility in the machine gun hand. The skirt armor is pretty flexible. Side skirts can move out a bit. The front skirts are actually connected to the side skirts rather than the crotch piece here, and they can go up, and they're actually in a ball joint, so they can move up and down and wiggle just a little bit. These two little pieces right here can move forward and back when you move his torso, and the back skirt can move up and down as well. And these thrusters are on ball joints, but they really don't move very much. The legs are on a peg system, so they can go forward quite a bit, and actually go even further forward when you have all the armor off. And backward, not quite as far, but still pretty nice. And they can go out quite a bit as well, which will sometimes make the side skirts pop off. Anyway, he's got double jointed knees. And one of the nice things I like about the knees is that the blue part here and the black part move separately. And if you'll just watch this carefully, the black part doesn't move all that much, but it does move a little bit. And this little blue piece is separate. I just thought that was a really nice touch. I forgot to mention he does have rotation below the hip joint. Now the feet are pretty much just like the Zaku 2.0. They're on a double ball joint, or actually it's like a ball joint and a hinge. Anyway, it's a double joint, so they can move side to side really far forward. They can move back about that far. This little back skirt on the back of his ankle kind of keeps it from moving. And there's a joint in the middle of the foot that lets the toes go forward. So that is actually about it for articulation. And let's see if we can't squeeze in his accessories in the next 3 minutes. He comes with a beam sword, which is molded in a nice clear fluorescent orange, and it has a peg in the handle that fits into a peg on this hand, so he can hold that really well, doesn't fall out. You can take the beam off, and the handle can store in his shield. There's a peg on the bottom of his shield, just like his hand, and it just fits on the bottom right there. The shield itself is pretty nice, really basic, but still nice. It has a good solid feel to it. It's like, I think, 3 layers. It's got a little connector that holds onto his arm with a ball joint, so when you put it on, it can still wiggle around a bit. And once you know, that blue piece fell off again. And it doesn't have any problems falling off, so that's pretty solid as well. He comes with another standard hand, which you can switch out for his machine gun hand if you so desire. And the reason that stupid shield. The reason that this piece keeps falling off is because he came molded with the 2 arms are identical, so he comes with the heat rod access point, I guess, that you could put on both arms, or you could just put this flat piece on both arms and have the Gouf with no heat rod. And speaking of which, I think his best accessory is the heat rod. It's actually very, very nice. Now on the 1.0, I believe he had a wire with a mesh pipe on it, and then all the little plastic segments that went around that. And to me that sounds like a real pain to assemble, but this one, each one of these gray segments is its own piece, and it's made out of the same material that the polycaps are made out of, and they're connected to the tree in such a way that you can just cut them off and pop them together, and it's really easy to assemble. And even the little fat tip on the end here is flexible as well, and it's just really, really nice and actually holds its shape pretty well. The only way that I've had it where it won't hold its shape is if you just hold it out like so, kind of falls flat. So I'm going to end this part of the review, and we'll come back for part 2 and go over his inner frame.